So, while we are waiting other members to come in, anybody wants to share or any questions you want to ask before we go into this chanting and the actual discourse?
Is it a coincidence that we are here today? Is it a coincidence that we are here today?
So can we relate to the practice, please? I'm not going to the other questions today. Related to the practice.
The practice.
No, sorry.
So see when thoughts come into your mind whilst you're meditating, how do you put it out? Do you try to just refocus on your breath? Like random thoughts come into your brain, how do you get back to the peace?
So, we have been going through that one, so who's going to speak? Any thoughts?
Well, there's 4 words, aren't there? Is it acknowledge? No, observe, acknowledge, note, move on. How did I do?
Anyone? Hello, we've been going through this one for a long time.
Just try to come back to primary object. That's the breath here, concentration on now. So the breath, bring the breath to your nose.
Okay, so we already got the 2 options. Okay? What else? It's a sharing time, learning time.
For me, it's going to happen. It happens to me every 5 seconds. My brain jumps around like a rabbit when I'm meditating.
It's a monkey mind.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's fine.
okay.
It's normal.
That's the true nature of the mind. Try to go away, so we try to get it back and try to tame it. That's the whole purpose of Anapanasati. If you're doing vipassana, then it's a different story. Then you observe throughout the sensations. So in Anapanasati, there are 5 hindrances. So it comes and trying to disturb your practice.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah.
So you need to realize those things, and when it comes, those 5 things, Kama Chanda Vyapada Tina with the Uddhacca Kukkha Vichikicca, and those 5, so it will come to you obviously, and you try to fight it back and get back.
Yeah.
That's.
Anyone?
I don't think you fight it back, you just let it go.
Yeah.
If you try to fight it back, then you are attached to it.
What I do is like I note it as a thought, and it's usually automatically come back to the breath.
Don't you let it finish and then it will automatically go back? Like you see where it goes and then you will automatically come back to the simple object?
Yeah. So.
Yes, as everyone said, that if you try to bring it forcefully back, it doesn't say so. You have to acknowledge that you jumped out and you went somewhere. And Ajahn said something, you acknowledge and smile. So it's very easy to bring back your attention back onto the top. So always acknowledge when it goes away, but don't stick to it, just come back. Acknowledge, smile, and then you're on the track. My father used to say always, as long as you don't catch the snake from the head, you try to touch it. So it takes a long time for you to go and try to catch the snake from the head. So it's like it always the practice.
Yeah.
Actually, I must say, thank you for the question. So it's like a test. It's like an examination for those who have been coming.
A long time ago, we went for a meditation 10-day retreat in Bangalore. So first day, we could stay even 5 minutes in one posture. Keep on changing. after third or fourth day, we could stay for 1 hour without changing posture. We never realized we are in the same posture. But after meditating, we realized, oh, we have not changed the posture.
Yeah.
So you can see how deeply you got into the concept.
Yeah.
So, what do you understand now? Which one you are going to follow among these so many?
What I was doing naturally was thinking about my breath. That's what I was doing naturally. So I guess I was sort of on the right track. I was trying not to. I had to try really hard to not keep thinking about what I was thinking about. So I guess I won't try as hard. I'll try and just acknowledge it next time.
So there are different levels, and based on which level you are in. So we cannot take it as whatever they have said, all are right. Okay, all are right, but nothing will be the same. They are saying from their understanding, their experiences, and from that explanation, I know where they are now. And with that also, I know that whether they are practicing or not. Okay, so I know where they are. Okay, and whether they are practicing it or not. Okay, so it is basically based on individuals' practice. Then we recognize that how far they have understood. Right? Initial practice, in order to gain the concentration, we will ignore. The rest of all other things we ignore. We have only the breath. Right? So in that case, we are extremely ignoring the rest of other things. But as we develop further on, then gradually we recognize them, whatever comes, and once that we recognize it, again, we're not spending time with that. So we leave that, come back. And then it comes to the stage to recognize, as just mentioned about the 4 words, which is observing, acknowledging, noting, and let go. And that's also starting to beginning with to practice that. It comes. And after that, then again it comes to the stage that you just realize, and then as Sadis also mentioned, you just need to relax yourself. Right? And that relaxing actually leaves yourself detached from the object, and you release and return to this object. And then it comes to the stage that coming back to the breath. Right? That's again, there are many levels there as well. Right? Starting with, let's say, we recognize this distraction properly, and then we leave it deliberately, right? With a right intention, and then coming back. And later on, as we develop our understanding, this distraction, once we have recognized it, like our little fellow mentioned, so it just finishes there. And then we coming back. And this coming back again, it's not because we want to come back to the breath, but because our mind is used to with it. And so with that, rather than going into the other objects, mind simply sees this. It's like one object is blurring, another object is just becoming foggy. So as soon as that goes, that vanishes, then this becomes in existence. So in that case, the mind doesn't have to find any other objects to be. So it simply adapts that. So that's like at the background, it's just always there. So that's why there are different levels of it, based on how far we've been practicing and how much do we understand. Right? So good. Right. Any other things? Or otherwise, we just recite this verse and this sutta, and then we'll go to the number. So we recite together. Ida bhikkhu aranyagato va rukha mulagato va sunyakharakato va nisidati pallankang abhuchitava ujung kayang panidhaya parimukhang sating upathapetava so satova atsasati satova patsasati dikhang va atsasanto dikhang atsasamiti pajanati dikhang va patsasanto dikhang patsasamiti pajanati rasang va atsasanto rasang atsasamiti pajanati rasang va patsasanto rasang patsasamiti pajanati sabbakaya parisangvedhi asase samiti sikhati sabbakaya parisangvedhi pasase samiti sikhati pasang bhayang kaya sankharang asase samiti sikhati pasang bhayang kaya sankharang pasase samiti sikhati piti pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikhati piti pati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikhati sukha pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikhati sukha pati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikhati cittasankhara pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikhati cittasankhara pati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikhati pasang bhayang cittasankharang asase samiti sikhati pasang bhayang cittasankharang pasase samiti sikhati cittapati sangvedhi asase samiti sikhati cittapati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikhati abhipamodhayang cittang asase samiti sikhati abhipamodhayang cittang pasase samiti sikhati samadahang cittang asase samiti sikhati samadahang cittang pasase samiti sikhati vimochayang cittang asase samiti sikhati vimochayang cittang pasase samiti sikhati aniccanupassi asase samiti sikhati aniccanupassi pasase samiti sikhati virakhanupassi asase samiti sikhati virakhanupassi pasase samiti sikhati nirodhanupassi asase samiti sikhati nirodhanupassi pasase samiti sikhati parinisangkhanupassi asase samiti sikhati parinisangkhanupassi pasase samiti sikhati. So this Anapanasati Sutta that we've been focusing on, and we started from the very beginning of this sutta. We have finished the first section, the Kaya Nupassana or contemplation of the body. There is my typo mistake, boy. Okay. Have you ever noticed? No? Contemplation of a boy. Typo mistake, okay? That's a body. So we have finished that one, and then in the Vedana Anapanasati or the contemplation of a feeling, again we also have spent a couple of weeks on that already. So he trains himself to breathe in sensitive to rapture and to breathe out sensitive to rapture. And he trains himself to breathe in sensitive to pleasure and to breathe out sensitive to pleasure. So until this we have discussed and covered, and I believe that you have understood pretty much until now. Okay? Practice is different. From sharing, it appears you haven't practiced much. Okay, but however, we have covered up to this 6. Okay, so today will be on 7. Okay, so that is cittasankhara patisangvedhi asa sisamiti sikkati. Cittasankhara patisangvedhi passa sisamiti sikkati, which means he trains himself to breathe in sensitive to mental processes or formations, to breathe in, to breathe out, and to breathe in, and sensitive to the mental formations. Now here, rather than me going to study there, explaining, I want to read some of the suttas for you, and then later on, probably I will discuss on that furthermore. This is quite similar to the one that we discussed previously with the Kaya Sankhara, the 4th one. Okay, so in the contemplation of the body, there is a Kaya Sankhara, which means the bodily formations. So we discussed on the breath, formation of the breath and formation of the body, the flesh body and the breath body. And here, now, in that section, we discuss how the breath is, how breath created and body created, and how these were formed. And now here we are talking about the mind. Okay, so the creation of the mind. Okay? If I ask you how the mind created, how would you answer? What is the cause of that one mind, or so-called one element of the mind? Huh? Feelings.
Is it the aggregates?
Aggregates. Now, if you've been listening 2 weeks past, then you will be able to recognize the cause of the arising of one element of the mind. Okay? So the one Eros mentioned, and that's right. That's a feeling. Okay? So, what is this? Huh? A mug or a cup. Well, how do you know this is a mug or a cup?
Because I was taught.
Sorry? You were taught.
No, I was taught.
Yeah, you were taught that this is a mug. So, in order to say that this is a mug, what are the process going on there? Basically, you don't have to go the entire process in a basic form that you know.
The shape of the object.
Shape of the object, and then what else? A mug. What sort of things happening here?
So it's our language and our knowledge.
Language and knowledge.
We apply those to the thing in your hand.
You're very philosophical.
Composition?
Huh?
The composition?
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 Uh-huh. Okay, what else? In order to recognize that this is a mug or a cup.
The way you hold it.
If I put it here?
You should be able to see it.
We see it.
See it?
Yeah.
And then?
And then your brain should recognize the shape, saying, okay, that's what you call it.
Your perception, like you had it like earlier, that as set up as a
Past memory.
Past memory, okay. And then what else? It's just a general question, isn't it?
In Alzheimer's, there's no memory, so they don't identify.
Sorry?
In Alzheimer's, they don't have memory, so then they don't identify.
What is this?
Big monk.
Yeah? This is a mug, and what is this? Now let me make a more proper way. What is this now? A pot. Yeah?
We don't know.
What sort of things happening here to recognize that this is this is a mug, or this is a pot?
The shape.
Huh?
The shape.
A shape? Yeah? See? It's a simple question.
The way it presents.
The way it presents, right? Now, if you say this one, a pot, to Thai people, yeah, Thai, or in Thailand, they will say, no, it's not a pot. Yeah? You say this because of the shape, you are saying this is a pot. But they will say, no, this is not a pot. Huh? Yeah?
Yeah, it's in their language, pot is a different sanya. Probably.
Even you speak in English, they will say this is not a pot.
Is there a different name for that shape?
But suppose you say this one is a mug, right? In Thai, they know this is a mug, but they have different name for it. They still recognize this as a mug. But if you say this one, they will say, no, this is not a pot.
The past, the memory is biased on our decisions.
Huh? Memory is a bias upon your...
I mean, because our decisions are biased because of our memory.
It's a perception.
That's exactly what's happening here.
Or what?
Because we do not know what is it called.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been through this is. That's why you cannot say what is this. So memory. You are told this shape like is called pot. And then when we say it is a pot, we are equivalating with another pot that we have seen. But you will never see pot like this. Have you? No. But because the similar shape, and you're recognizing it as, not recognizing, but you are naming it as a pot. So based on
Previous memory. Right?
previous memory.
So what is it actually?
Huh?
What is
If I say it now, you will, but you still can't comprehend it because your memory is not recognized it yet. It's not saved in so-called, in psychology, memory. It's not saved in your memory, and repeatedly saying this is saved in a long-term memory. That's why whenever you see the shape, straight away you call it a mug. But this one, if I say it to you, it won't go through and saved in your long-term memory. And that's not the perception yet. And if you go out and come back, if I ask you what is it, you forget it.
I mean, I think because of this conversation, I'm going to remember it.
See, now, that's why, so there is a perception required. In order to get that perception, what comes?
Has it to be registered in the long-term memory for the perception to come?
If that's a long-term memory, then that is saved for a long time and straight, you will not forget it. Okay, so there are, if I remember correctly, there are 3 levels of memories. Short-term, and then a middle, which you've been doing sometimes, but not used to with it. And then a long-term memory that's saved for a long time. And that is... doesn't matter how many years you away from your country, but you still remember the language. like that. So that's saved in a long-term memory. Same with this mug, right? Like that. Okay. Now here, have you seen how the mind creates here? The one element of the mind recognized. Right? So these are the fractions to be a one mind, right? So in a basic term, there are two things is happening. I seeing the object, right? And with that, there are other processes going on, but in the short term, whenever we see this one, the perception comes from the background and recognizing that. The moment when you recognize, and that is called a one element of the mind. So that's why the here is saying sensitive or mental formation, okay, or mental processes. So that means one mental state to arise, there are two things happening. So combination of these two is called one mind. So creation of a one mind. So that's why in the practice of a meditation, without an object, there is no mind. Simple term. Yeah? Without an object, there is no mind. So in order to have a mind, there must have an object. Okay?
So you can say that from the five sense organs, something has to get into the mind to get touch.
Six senses we are talking, not the
six,
five senses.
Six.
Six senses.
The sensor should pick something to create a mind.
Yeah. Okay. And not just the creating it, not just the coming to contact with the objects, but also ability to recognize that. And that moment, one mind arises. Okay. There are 16 stages in order to be a one mind, okay? 16 stages.
What about when you're sleeping, you all shut down all the six senses and then...
That's called alaya vijnana. So that's in a sleeping mode. But still it has other object, which is this like a long-term memory. So these are the objects. That's why we dream sometimes.
It's a bhavanga citta, isn't it?
No, bhavanga citta is already awoke.
Oh.
What do you call the immediate memory?
Sorry?
Immediate memory?
Not.
Now what right now happened, what that memory is there an explanation for that?
Yes, there are. It's also explanation there too.
Because
that's what practice of a meditation or a Buddhism is basically replacing the old perception to the new memories. So that's why we are learning new things every single day.
Because in medicine, they give the midazolam, that short-acting drug. It erases that short memory. So they give this drug in painful procedures. You can't even remember going there even for the procedure because it deletes the memory.
Yeah. Right. So like
I
that.
went for a colonoscopy. I had it. I can't remember. It was a pleasant experience. But you can remember going to the room. And you can sleeping. After that, you can't remember.
Yeah. So that
you can remember. I went for a colonoscopy because that memory is taken off.
Yeah. So here you have to remember the moment when you were there, but there wasn't any sanya. You see, you perceive, but you experience it, but there isn't any sanya or the perception coming into existence, and as a result, you cannot remember. See, you face it, but you do not recognize it. The same thing. Let's say you are sitting on a bus, going somewhere. Let's say going to the city. How many things you see through the window? And how many things you recognize? Why you can't recognize everything? Only remember one or two. Because you consciously recognize and you relate to something in the past. And that's how we recognize. Same with the names. When somebody you meet for the first time and they tell you a name, they tell their name to you, how do you remember? You will go back to someone who similar to that person, or the dog, or the tree, or the names, or the house, or the mountains, or a person, or uncle, or whoever. You relate their face, their color, their shape, and that's how you remember their name. Right? So, immediate contact that generates some friction, they call the feeling, and then coming back from the memory, the shapes, the color, the things that you have gone through, and recognize that, and that's how one citta comes, the mind comes.
So feeling always precedes mind, is that right? Which is why they...
Aids. It aids. Because feeling is always in the present moment.
So if you don't have any previous memory, how do you remember?
You don't remember any. That's why you can't say this one, what is this? You see it, but you can't say. Because you don't have a previous memory at all.
Siddharth really wants to know what it is.
You're going around and around.
Yeah? So like that. Okay? So that's why in Anapanasati we are talking about the feeling. And then here in the section of contemplation of a feeling, it's talking about the arising of the mind. Okay? Arising of the mind. And this arising of the mind, we are not talking about the mind itself. We are talking about the cause that creates to the mind. Okay? You understand now? Okay? Pot.
Yeah.
Okay, this is pot for you, okay?
What's the real thing?
This is called Khan Nam Mon.
Ask me the next time you see me.
Okay. Okay? So this is how one one element of the mind arises. Okay? And that's why in the practice of a meditation in 2 or 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks already, I've been talking about developing this focus attention by having the counterpart. It started with having a space or a sign of the this breath in somewhere in our meditation, in which I was explaining the tip of the nose or just the below, and then not attached to it, but again having this, developing this a counterpart sign in our mind, so that we are not thinking of this tip of the breath, it's a tip of the nose, but it's already created there. It's always on the background. Right? So with that, what's happening here, that we will be able to recognize each moment when we notice that these two things is happening. And these two things are happening all the time. So that's how gradually we are moving towards the state of each mindset. Right? Each mind sets. So that's why, so let's say, mind with greed, mind with lusts, mind with hate. Those are the actual mind itself. We are not talking about that yet. Right? So we are talking about these are created and how this arises. Right? And in the meantime, in a couple of weeks, I've been explaining about the different levels of absorptions that we gain. Right? And that's how we experience the rapture, joys and happiness. Particularly last week, I mentioned about the happiness. And this is, again, based on our attainment or practice of a meditation that gradually developed, and these will come into existence. Okay? My plan was to read the sutta. Unfortunately, time is already past. Okay, but I will give you 2 discourses, and you can go and read. If possible, read 3 discourses from the middle length discourse. Okay, so number 1 is Chula. This is the one that I was going to read. That's called a Chula Vedana Sutta. It's a sutta number 44 from the Majjhima Nikaya, or middle length discourse. And there's another one is 111. That's purely related to the different levels of the jhanas or the absorptions. Okay. And there's another one sutta that I want you to read. That's the I think 119. 119. That is the contemplation of the bodily body contemplation. So, if you read these three, the first, the 119. Actually, I did mention I think 4 or 5 weeks ago, and then we did practice on that too, but not whole of it. And that actually helps us to recognize this, at least of this bodily contemplation of four levels of this practice of a breathing meditation: long breath, short breath, related to the body, and then how the body and body calming or formation. So we will understand that one clearly. Once we have understood that one, and reading this 111, if I remember correctly, that discourse helps us to understand that when we practice, when a mind comes to the stages and how we experience, these are different levels of it, right? And this one, this Chula Vedala Sutta, this is actually question and answer between the two, between husband and wife, basically. Okay, but ex-husband and wife. Okay, this actually explains about the different types of feelings, and then it also explains about the rising of the cittasankhara, or the mental formation, and a counterpart of each feelings and attainment of a liberation. Okay, so you can go and read this one, but I will give you a background. Okay, so this story, this is between. Okay, the story is.
What's the number for that? The last one?
44. This is a 44. The last one.
Oh, 44.
44, 111, 119. Okay? So this background of this discourse is that one gentleman who was a friend of King Bimbisara, he one day he got married with a lady called Dhammadinna. And then one day King Bimbisara invites his friend Visakha. His name is Visakha. He invite him to go to see the Buddha. Yeah? So goes to the temple and listen the talk. While he was listening a talk, he contemplates. He contemplates what the Buddha was talking about. And then he attains a Sotapanna, the first noblehood. Right? And then again, next time he goes back to listen the talk again, and he contemplates on that, and he attains so-called a third level of a noblehood called Anagami. So there are 4 different levels of the noblehood according to Buddhism. So he attains the third one. Now, every time when Visakha comes back from the temple, Dhammadinna, his wife, normally receives him, gives a hug, holds a hand, goes to the kitchen. She will prepare a food, eat together, and talk. So that was a regular kind of activity. And in the second time, when this Visakha went to the temple, listened the talk, and attained the third noblehood, when he comes home, Dhammadinna, his wife, comes to the door, try to give a hug. It's very dull, like a grumpy, but not a grumpy, very dull. And so Visakha didn't give her Visakha didn't give her a hug, and also he rejected to hold the hand. And Dhammadinna didn't say anything, so they both went into the kitchen. She prepares the food, and then again they were eating like a very cold environment. So Visakha wasn't talking to her at all. So she thought something is wrong here. So, and then she asks him, what did I do wrong? Why you're so cold today? You're not speaking. You didn't give me a hug. You didn't hold my hand. And you're not talking at all. And then Visakha said, oh, you haven't done anything wrong. Now on, we will live separately. So it's like a divorce. Now on, we will live separately. You can have everything what you want, or you can take anything that you want, and we can stay together, but not living together. So same house, but not living together. Or you can take anything that you want and go back your home with your family, live with your family. With that, and then say, oh, I don't want your. It's like excuse my language. The language that she said, it's like I don't want your shit that you have, kind of a throwaway. I don't want to have that. I would rather go become a nun. So she said like that. I would rather go become a nun. Having heard that she is willing to be a nun, he was so happy. And he said, oh, that's really good. Go and become a nun. So, and then he goes to see the King Bimbisara, and then I got the patron, what's called a sponsorship from King Bimbisara, and she becomes a nun. In a short time, due to her, she was also listening to talks and practicing meditations and so on. So she attains the fourth noblehood, Arhat. So she managed to eradicate or abandon all the kilesas, all the defilements, and become the enlightened one. Whereas her husband is not yet. Okay? And with that, one day, her husband wanted to test. So Visakha wanted to test nun Dhammadinna, how far she's been practicing and how far she has understood. So that question and answer is that sutta, so that discourse. So it's actually talking about identity, it's talking about feelings, it's talking about perception, it's talking about how to gain the enlightenment. Right? So that's this is the discourse on that. Right? And then after she explained to Visakha, he wasn't enlightened yet, so he needs somewhere to get the confirmation. So she told him, if you don't believe me, go to listen to Buddha and make sure that whatever Buddha said, remember it and practice it. So, and after meeting Dhammadinna, he pays respect to her and then goes to see the Buddha and then explain to the Buddha that what had happened. And the Buddha said that whatever she said, if I will also say the same thing. So that's how this discourse ends here. So with this, now it's time to practice loving kindness meditation to finish off to today. Okay? So relax yourself and spend some time reflecting today's discussion. And spend some time comprehending the concept of arising of an element of a mind. Bring your attention to notice the sensations in your body. We're practicing loving kindness meditation now. Feel the sensations in your body and in your hand. And bring your attention to your heart. Feel the connection with your heart. You may bring a smile on your face to feel the connection with your heart. And as you feel the connection with your heart, allowing yourself to be happy, at peace, and free from suffering. And mentally you may recite, simply to feel the connection with it. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from suffering. So diving into those words and feel and sensing within yourself. And similarly, sharing loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear one or any particular person that you think they need it the very most. So bring into your mind and sharing these loving thoughts, and expanding to all the sentient beings, regardless of any backgrounds, whoever they are, whatever they are, wherever they are, visible and invisible beings in this room, in this city, in this country, on earth, in the universe. May they be well, may they be happy, may they be at peace, may they be free from suffering. May they be able to protect their own happiness. May all beings be free from suffering. Now bring your attention to your hands. Feel the sensations in your hands. And to your body. Feel the sensations in your body. And to your eyes. And as you hear the gong, come out from the practice and reflect for a few moments.